So a pretty big thing known as D23 happened over the weekend, and as such we got trailers for all kinds of things that are going to be coming out, both movies and shows. And the one that we're going to be talking about today is the trailer for Skeleton Crew, because it's going to be the last Star Wars project of the year, and I have some thoughts after finally having watched the trailer. The main thing that I was thinking while watching this trailer is that this is going to be geared towards kids a little bit more, isn't it? I know that Star Wars was created for kids. George Lucas himself said he created Star Wars for kids, and this kind of held true throughout all the time we've had Star Wars, with the exception of maybe Andor and Rogue One, but even those can be watched by kids. This show almost feels like it's gonna be a little bit more geared toward kids, however, just because having kids as your main characters, as your lead actors and actresses, kind of lends your show to being for kids. This just doesn't feel like something that's gonna get super dark, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Rebels also had that feeling when it started out, and that show didn't get like super duper dark or anything, but it started off really kid-like in the first season, and then it just continued to get better, and I feel like this show could do something similar. 8 episodes of a show isn't a very long time to go from a light-hearted show to something super serious or tonally darker, but I don't think this show would even really need to do that. I think you can definitely have a show in Star Wars that's kind of more geared toward kids and lighthearted and still be good. Season 1 of Rebels is very lighthearted in comparison to a lot of Star Wars, and it's still very good. I know people like to rag on Season 1 of Star Wars Rebels, especially compared to the later seasons, but it's still pretty good. The only other really big thought that I wanted to share after having watched the trailer is that I found it very jarring that in Star Wars now we have this, nuclear family neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? This whole like suburban area with mowed lawns and speeders that kind of look like 50s vehicles from, Earth. It's just very, I don't want to say out of place, but it's just very different. I can absolutely guarantee you that there's gonna be people who have a problem with that, but it doesn't really bother me. It does a little bit just because it's new and it's different, but at the same time, why not? I think that the speeders that look like old-timey cars kind of match up a little bit with the mod bikes from Book of Boba Fett. And I know people weren't a fan of those either, but in my opinion, we can have those mod bikes and we can have the old-timey car speeders, and it makes just as much sense as George Lucas putting a 50s diner in Attack of the Clones. I don't have a problem with that, so I can't have a problem with this. If I'm having a problem with things in Star Wars looking like old-timey Earth things, then I have to take issue with George Lucas, and I'm not gonna do that. We haven't seen a lot of the core worlds in Star Wars, and even the ones we have seen have been mostly during wartime. A lot of Star Wars takes place in the mid-rim and the outer rim, and so I think that this suburban aesthetic could really fit in one of those wealthier core worlds that hasn't really been affected in the same way that other worlds have by the different conflicts that we follow in Star Wars. I have a sneaking suspicion that this show will be a pleasant surprise for a lot of people, but what I will say is, with The Acolyte being the last Star Wars project to come out, and with that being such a controversial topic, I think that a lot of people just aren't going to give this show a chance. I think even ones who watch the trailer just won't like what they see in the trailer, and they'll decide not to watch the show. Do I think this show is going to be better than The Acolyte or worse? I don't know at this point, but do I think it will be received better by the masses? I don't think so. I think that even if this show ends up being really good, people just aren't gonna give it a fair shot. And maybe that's just me being pessimistic, but that's just how I'm feeling towards the Star Wars community right now. I just don't have much faith that people are gonna give things a fair try. But here's hoping that A, we get a good show, and B, people will acknowledge it if it is one. I guess we'll have to check back in December to see how people are feeling and how I'm feeling. But that's all I've got to say for now. Thanks for sticking around if you stuck around. If you want to help me out, liking this video, commenting on it, subscribing to the channel, all help me grow the channel, and stick around if you want to. I'll be making a video about Skeleton Crew in December when it comes out. But until next time, bye.